Good morning, everyone. This video is all about the WAN network. So first of all, we should know what is a WAN. It's a wide area network. So here in this experiment, we are going to build two local networks. That is, and we are going to connect all the local networks to the internet, where we call it as the WAN. So what we're going to do is we are going to use the end systems and we are going to connect those end systems with the switch, and the switches are going to get connected with the router, and we are going to use more than one router, and the routers get connected, and that forms a WAN. So obviously when we are connecting to the internet, it forms a WAN. A very good example for WAN network is nothing but suppose if some branch offices has to be connected, in case if you have a bank branch in various places, and if you want all those branches to get connected, so we can make use of WAN. Another very good example is that so when an employee who's working from home wants to get connected to his office, so we can make use of this WAN network. So this is how the WAN network is used in day-to-day life. So now using the Cisco packet tracer, now we are going to form a topology where you will have the end users. So first, you're just going to place the end users, that is the end devices. So now I'm going to place the PC. So now I have placed one PC, and I'm going to place one more PC. So I'm just going to place one more, and I'm going to place one. So this is how we are going to deal with the end users. So now I'm going to take few more PCs because I'm going to form two different networks. Here actually I'm going to form two different networks where I'm going to, so now I have placed all the PCs. So I think we can arrange them properly so that it would look perfect. So I think we have a lot of places here, so we can just move them. So these PCs, they belong to a separate network, which is on the right side. And also we have PCs towards the left. So those PCs can also be arranged properly so that it would be a proper view. The visualization will be perfect. So now I'm going to select the switch device. So mainly we use the switch device for for the multicast purpose. That is that is for the what to say, if you want to send to a particular a node, so we make use of the switch. Now I'm going to use the 3560 switch. It's actually a multi-layer switch. We call this 3560 switch as a multi-layer switch. So now I've just selected one more switch and I'm placing it here. So now I'm selecting one more switch and I'm placing it on the other network. I'm selecting one more switch and I'm just placing it on the other network. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to add a router. So now I'm going to add the router. So now I would like to select the PT router. So I would always want you guys to select the PT router. So where I'm going to place it on the network. So now I have placed different routers for the two different networks. So now actually this forms a network and this forms a network. So now I'm going to give connections. So as usual, I'm going to give the connection. So I'm just connecting all the end users with a multi-layer switch. So now I'm just connecting all these PCs with the multi-layer switch. So what's the purpose of this multi-layer is that the multi-layer switch is that it can, like we have different layers in the network. So we have, so for more than one layers, this switch will be very useful. It's a very useful device. So now since we have 1, 2, 3 layers, it is a multi-layer network where we can make use of the multi-layer switch. So now we can see all these connections have turned into green, which was orange already. So now these connections are in orange where it is yet to turn green. So we can just wait for a few minutes. Now, what's our next process is that we have to connect the switch with the router. So we can connect the switch with the router. So we can make all the connections, finish the connections, and then we can move into the configuration part. As we see that it is already red, I mean, it is red in color and is not turning into green is because we have not configured the router. So as soon as we configure all the PCs and the router, we can turn the red into green where the connection is being established. So now I would just like to take the writing space, and for our identification, I'm going to give the IP address, that is a unique address for each router. So now actually I'm going to add the IP addresses 192.168.25.1. So I'm just going to add this to this particular PC, and next to this particular PC, I'm going to add 192.168 point, the same 25 point, I can give 2. Now for the next PC, I can give 192.168 point. So actually I can give a different local address. It need not be the same address, that is 192.168. So I can give an address which belongs to a different class. So this belongs to the class C. Now I'm just giving a different address. So we can say that 124. 124.164. So 164.25.25.1. So likewise, I can give for this PC. It is 124.164.25.2. So this is how I'm differentiating between the local area networks. So I've just given the IP addresses which belongs to different class. That's it. So that all belongs to one particular local area network. So now fine. Now, so now we can give, I can give some addresses here. That is for the router, we need to configure, right? So I can give it as 192.168, that is 168 point, the same 25 point some 10. I can give some 10. And here I can give as 124.164.25.10. So you should make sure, you should be sure that the network address, so you see this is the network address. That's 192.168.25 is the network address. So the same network address has to be present when you have configured the router 192.168.25, but the host address can vary. Same in the case on the right side. So you have 124.164.25, which belongs to a different class address. The same 124.164.225.10. 10 is nothing but the host address. The host address may vary, but you should be sure, you should make sure about the network address. So now I can give some addresses. Here I can give some addresses like I can give a 193.168 point, same 125. Okay, so 25.1. Okay, so you can just give 193, so which will make a difference from 192. So here also you can give 193 .168.25.25.2. So this is how I make the difference. So now I can give some different addresses here. It's nothing but 125.164.25.1. So next I can give the IP address here. It is 125.164.25.4, or you can give 2. Okay, so you can give 2. So these are the IP addresses which are being assigned to the particular end users. So now I can give some IP address for the router. So for the router, it can be, I can give the same address. It is 193.168.25 point some 10. I can give 10. Now here also I can give some addresses like 125.164.25 point some addresses 10. So I can give like this. So now we have just made some IP addresses. We have assigned some IP addresses. Now let's configure all the IP addresses. So now what is that I'm going to do is I'm going to configure all the IP addresses. So you can just switch on the end user, on the particular end user where you just want to configure. So you can just switch on it. So there you can give configuration. You can give configuration, then you can, that is, you can go for desktop and you can go for IP configuration. Click on the IP configuration, then you can give the IP address. So what is the IP address? 192.168.25.1. So the default subnet mask will be generated, and of course you will be in need to give the default gateway address, because as soon as the net, I mean the particular that is the particular the unique address, that is the system, as soon as it takes pass in the network, what happens is it has to be given a default, that is the default gateway. So here the default gateway is nothing but 192.168.25.10. So this is the default gateway. So you can just close it. So you can just close it, then you can just click on the next device and you can just configure the IP address. So you can just move to desktop, config IP address. Then the IP address can be given. It is 192.168.25.2. The default subnet mask has been generated. Then you have the default gateway. The gateway is, of course, it is 192.168.25.10. So this is how it is being done. So finally, we can just close it. Next, for each end user, you need to give the IP address and the default gateway. So this is how you have to do. So this one actually it gives you can give it as desktop IP configuration, and you can give the IP address as 124.164.25.1. So the default subnet mask will be generated and you can give the default gateway. The gateway is 124.164.25.10. So this is the default gateway. Okay, finally, we can do with this, we can configure this particular system. So we can just open it and go to desktop, IP configure it. So you can just give IP configuration. The same thing, the same process will be done. The only thing is you have to configure with the default subnet mask. So it's actually, I think we are doing it for this PC, okay? So it's actually 192. So it's actually 124. 124.164. 164.25.2. So the default subnet mask has been generated and the default gateway is 124.164.25.10. So the default gateway is being set. Okay, so we have done with all the PCs which are present in one network. So now we are going to configure the PC which is present in the other network. So this can be done just by clicking on the PC. Then you can go for desktop, IP configuration. So here you can give the default subnet mask, that is 193.168. Same thing, 25.1. Okay, so the default subnet mask has been generated, and the default gateway, as you know, the default gateway will be obviously the same, that is 193.168.25.10. So now we can close it. Now we can just open this. So when you open this, so we can set the IP configuration. So here is the desktop IP configuration. So you can give the IP address, that is 193.168.25.2. So the default subnet mask has been generated, and the default gateway is the same thing, 193.168.25.10. So now I'm just closing this. It is being configured. So now I'm just opening this PC. So when I open this PC, we can just set the IP configuration. So now I go to desktop, then IP config. So then I give the address. The address is 125.164.25.1. It's 25.1. So I can set the default subnet mask. Then finally, the default gateway is 125.164.25.10. So we are going to set the configuration for the last, that is for the PC 7. So now for the PC 7, so I'm just opening the desktop and IP configuration. So now we can give, it's nothing but 125.164.25.2. Then the default subnet mask is being generated. Then you have the default gateway. The default gateway is, it's nothing but 125.164.25.10. So now we have set the default gateway and the IP configuration for all the end users. So now we are going to configure the router. So we need to configure the router. So you just have to click on the router. So now the router is being clicked on. So here you will have configuration. So I'll just click it once more. Okay. So now I can give config. So we are going to get into fast Ethernet 0 bar 0. So when I just click on fast Ethernet 0 bar 0, so I can configure this router. So okay, so this is the IP config for fast Ethernet 0. So I can give you 192.168.25.10, and the default subnet mask will be generated. And of course, don't forget to on the port status. You just have to on it. So only when it is on, the routers can just get connected. Now you can see the connections. Obviously, you can see the connections. Now I'm just again going to click on it, going to fast Ethernet 1 bar 0. So when I have that fast Ethernet 1 bar 0, again I'm going to configure the fast Ethernet 1 bar 0 with the IP address. Okay, so it is 1 bar 0. So here you can give the IP addresses 124.164.25.10. So the default subnet mask has been generated, and you can just on this port system so that it gets connected. Now, the same thing has to be done with the LAN network, which is on the right side. So now I'm just going to configure this router with the IP address 193.168.25.10. I'm going to configure the same router, that is by using the fast Ethernets. Okay. Okay. So here you need to configure fast Ethernet 0 bar 0. So I can give the IP configuration as 193.168.25.10, and the default subnet mask has been generated. Then finally I can just switch on the port status. When I switch on, it gets connected. Now again I need to switch on the router, where I go with the fast Ethernet 1 bar 0. So now I can give the IP address. That is actually 125.164.25.10. So the default subnet mask has been generated. Then finally you need to on the status, that is the port status. Then finally now all the routers are being connected to the end devices. So now what is our work is that when this WAN is going to work out is that we are going to connect the two routers. So the two routers can be connected using the cable. That is the automatically chosen connection type. So I'm just going to connect this router with this router. So we can see the automatic connection between the router and the router. So now we are in need, in order to transfer the packets, we are in need of routing information protocol router. That is RIP router. So what we are going to do is, I'm going to switch on this router. Then there you find RIP. Okay, so it's nothing but the routing information protocol, which is very necessary for the message to get transferred. For pinging, it is very useful. Now I'm going to add all the network addresses which belongs to this router. So what are the network addresses which belongs to this router is that, so one of the addresses is 192.168.25.10 and the other is, so now actually we are in need to, there are three. So this is one path, this is the other path, and one more path we need to set. So that path I can just configure it as, I can give some other IP address 70.0.0.1. So here I can give some other address like 70.0.0.2, 70.0.0.2. So I can give some network addresses like this. So I can configure. That is the configuration. Now I've not yet configured between the router and the router. So now I have just started to click on the router. That is, I can give escape. Then I can just click on the router. There you find actually these are the serial ports. These are the serial ports. I can just click on serial 2/0. So until now we have not yet connected. That is, we have not yet configured between the router and the router. So that is what I've given it a separate IP address, that is 70.0.0.1 and 70.0.0.2. So now I'm just going to configure, that is 70.0.0.1. Then you find the default subnet mask, which is being generated. It's actually 70.0.0.1. So the subnet mask has been generated and I just have to on the port status on. Then same case for this router. It is 3/0. So when it says 3/0, it has to, we have to assign the IP address for 3/0. Okay, so it's actually 70.0.0.2 and the automatic subnet mask has been generated and you have to on the port status. Okay, so this will be fine. So now we have configured both the routers. So now we have to set the, the paths has to be set. So we have to go to RIP. There you have to give the IP address. So what are the three IP addresses? That is 192.168.25.10. So this is one of the address. I'm just adding it. And one more IP address is 124. 0.164.25.10. So this is one of the other address where I'm adding it. Then one more network, that is 70.0.0.1. So these are the three network addresses, that is the router, that is the IP address which are configured to the router. That is a particular routing information protocol in what are the paths in which it can send the packets. So there are three possible paths for that RIP from the router 0. So now, so this is being done. So you can just close it. So you can just switch on this router. There you can go for RIP. Click on this RIP, then you can add the network addresses. So the network addresses are 193.168.25.10. I can just add it. Then I can add one more, that is 125.164.25.10. So I am adding this. And the last network, that is 70.0.0.2. So these are the three paths in which the packet can travel. So I've just added. And now we can just ping. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ping this packet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ping from this node to this node. So where the two nodes belong to different networks, which is being connected through WAN, that is the wide area network. Here, this is the connection for wide area network. So now I'm just going to ping terminal. Oh, sorry, we can give command prompt. Actually, we can close this terminal configuration and open this command prompt. So now I can give ping 125.164.25.1. So let's see how it is getting pinged. Yeah, of course, you're getting a very good reply from the packets. It means that your packet, I mean your network, both the networks are being connected through WAN. So let's have one more example. That is, I'm pinging. So I can ping to one more device, that is 125.164.25.2. So let's see how the response comes. Yeah, of course, you're getting a very good reply. So this is how the WAN network works. Thank you.